Okay, plenty of big names involved in the news too. Reece Walsh, who is basically the poster boy for Magic Round up there at Suncorp Stadium, he's out due to knee soreness. So Kevy Walters announced in his press conference today, Selwyn Cobbo moves to fullback. What about the luxury they have? Just send Cobbo back if you don't mind. And Josiah, I'll have to get clarification on his surname. It's either Karapani or Karapani. Will come into the centres. We'll get confirmation on Josiah Karapani. Will come into the centres. He grew up in South Auckland. COVID hit and he lost contact, really. So it looked as though it might have been over. Came over Australia and tried out with the Rabbitohs, and the rest is history. Yesterday, recapping some big news. David Fifita, backflip, brushes the Roosters to stay at the Titans. So he'll stay at the Titans to the end of 2026, and the poor bugger has to cop $1 million a year. Gee, that's a shame. He knocked back a 4-year, $3.3 million deal to head to Bondi. And I did note this. The Roosters very quickly came out and said, we're out of the race when they got wind of him kind of balking at the opportunity.
Who do you think went first? Or do you think they're both just going to claim they went first?
No, I think Fifita went first.
Fifita went first.
Don't you think? I think he went first and the Roosters went first to market to say that they're out. Yeah. That's what I truly believe.
So what is it? What does Fifita want? Does he want money or does he want premierships?
I don't know. I really don't know. But what I tend to agree with Matt Rogers, he was sort of saying, and this happens with young people who can be easily influenced. You're in the presence of Nick Politis, who is one of the most powerful people in the universe. Yep. And Robbo, who speaks so well and all this. And when you're with those people, it's a really good idea. We've all been in this situation. And you're at the table and you're convinced this is what you want to do. And then you go and sit down with the other party, which in this case would be the Titans, or perhaps he's relayed that information back to his family. And then all of a sudden they start to sway you another way. Well, you're quite an assertive type, Missile. So I don't know how many times that you've been through that. But I certainly have, where you've been... I don't know, whether it's an opportunity to change jobs or...
I've always just been of the opinion, and this was drilled into me from a young age, that once you give someone your word is, as much as a man can have, basically. And if I don't trust a man's word, then it's not someone that I could really, be friends with or be close to, because if I can't trust a man, then... I can't have them in my life. So that was always my thing, and that I've remembered decisions in life where I've gone home and said to Dad, I think I've messed up here, but I said I'd do this and now I don't want to. And he'd say, no, if you gave someone your word that you do it, you go back there and you do what you said you'd do, and that's part of being a man. Now I know that's very archaic in a sense, but that was just how I was brought up.
Because others would be saying that you're be more loyal to the other person than yourself. So for the example of Fifita, right?
Yeah.
Has he gone against his word when he was in the company of the Roosters and the idea was fresh, and maybe in his mind he was 100% committed at that very time? So has he still gone against his word, which I suppose he has for all intents and purposes, but has he really... If his true intent at the time was to do that, but for whatever reason, being a young kid, changed his mind?
It's a hard one. How would you feel if you were Fifita now? How would you feel the public perception is of you, or do you just not care?
I'm trying to think of an example, but I'm fairly confident that maybe it was a job offer or something. I've done something similar where I felt at the time, I'm 100% doing this, and the dust settled, and then I had sort of balked and ummed and ahed. Yeah, I can't recall the exact time, but it does feel as though I may have done that once, and all with the right intention. 1300 01 1170. Wayne Bennett heading to the Bunnies. So the reports are a 3-year, $3 million deal, but he's come out and said he hasn't formally signed the deal. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's strange. I think he quoted Fifita in it.
Yeah.
So look what happened with Fifita.
That's right.
Weird. Where was Wayne living when he was in Sydney? Was he an Eastern Suburbs operator?
Oh, that's a great question.
Some land outside of town?
That's a very good question. I'd love to know that. When he was coaching the Dragons and the Bunnies, where was home for Wayne?
Because remember, he got caught at Grappa, which is in Leichhardt, the Italian restaurant in Leichhardt, during lockdown when he wasn't supposed. He was meant to be in his NRL bubble.
Yes.
And he got caught having lunch at Grappa, which makes maybe he was around the Leichhardt area.
Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. I've never actually thought about that. Mal Meninga on the throwdown with Jimmy Smith today was asked if Wayne Bennett was worth the reported cost. Here's what Mal said.
Is Wayne Bennett worth $1 million a year for the South Sydney Rabbitohs? he's probably worth more. I would suspect that Wayne would not only have the $1 million to coach, but there'd be some other incentives built into that for sure. He's worth more than that, to be honest with you.
I agree with that. Just for everything that it brings, that extra player that you sign who maybe you couldn't have got otherwise. Craig Bellamy, the reports are, and they could be inaccurate, but people say he's up to close to $2 million. Trent Robinson will be around the $1 million mark.
What's their cap? That's a separate cap.
Oh, it's like a soft
performance.
Cap. Soft cap, they call it, I think.
Yeah, okay.
But there's a fair case to argue that the coach has the biggest influence on the whole team, the performance of the team.
Absolutely.
Craig Fitzgibbon, what he's doing at the moment. Let's go to the open line, 1300 01 1170. St Clair near Penrith. Paul's there. Hey, Paul.
How's it going?
Good, Paulie.
Yeah, just my theory on the Fifita backflip is maybe after he heard Angus Crichton talking about how the Roosters never spoke to him and he it was a surprise to him. Maybe a workplace he didn't want to go to. That's the way they treat their employees.
Well,
Maybe
actually,
contributed to it.
yeah, that's a fair point, Paul. But now that Missile said that your word is you got to stick to your word. If he's had a word prior to Tino to say we're in this together, then his first word was with Tino and the Titans.
True.
So maybe he has stuck to his original word. I did have a feeling that Tino would play a big part in it. I would love to know, Paul, who was the most influential in David Fifita making that decision. Was it Tino? Was it Des? Was it Gordy Tallis, who has a lot to do with the Gold Coast? Was it his family? I'd be fascinated to know that.
Yeah, I know my experience with work and been like getting job offers and that I've gone back on my word based on hearing feedback from current employees going, no, hang on, what the people making the offer are saying isn't really what's happening on the ground. Maybe might be something similar.
Okay, no, fair enough. I'll tell you what, a man who's given us his word, hopefully he keeps it. Sean the Trader coming up after this. Good on you, Paul. Keep the calls coming through, 1300 01 1170 or text 0457 736 736.